Hey, reading students! We are going to read Yeh Shen, a Cinderella story from China. And for those of you who don't know, I love Cinderella stories from around the world. In fact, before we went down on quarantine, I grabbed a few that were in my show them to you, and we might read some later. Many of you are familiar with Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. That's from Africa. This one is Adelita, a Mexican Cinderella story. And so the boys don't feel left out. I actually have two guy ones. This one's from Ireland, the Irish Cinderlad. And then this one is called Prince Cinders. Okay? So I will try and read those to you later in the week. But let's start with Yeh Shen, okay? And you'll forgive me if I have to keep enlarging the text so that I can see it. And then I have to bring it back down so that I can turn the page. So here we go. And I like the setting, the purpose on this. As you read, pay attention to how the story of Yeh Shen is similar to and different from the Cinderella stories you know. So you're going to see a lot of the same elements that you're familiar with, but there's also going to be, of course, some differences and cultural differences specifically. So here we go. In the dim past, even before the Qin and the Han dynasties, there lived a cave chief of southern China by the name of Wu. As was the custom in those days, Chief Wu had taken two wives. That's always trouble. Each wife in their turn had presented Wu with a baby daughter. But one of the wives sickened and died, and not too many days after that, Chief Wu took to his bed and died too. Yeh Shen, the little orphan, grew to girlhood in her stepmother's home. She was a bright child and lovely too, with skin as smooth as ivory and dark pools for eyes. Her stepmother was jealous of all this beauty and goodness, for her own daughter was not pretty at all. Oops. So in her displeasure, she gave poor Yeh Shen the heaviest and most unpleasant chores. The only friend that Yeh Shen had to her name was a fish she had caught and raised. It was a beautiful fish with golden eyes, and every day it would come out of the water and rest its head on the bank of the pond, waiting for Yeh Shen to feed it. Stepmother gave Yeh Shen little enough food for herself, but the orphan child always found something to share with her fish, which grew to enormous size. Somehow the stepmother heard of this. She was terribly angry to discover that Yeh Shen had kept a secret from her. She hurried down to the pond, but she was unable to see the fish, for Yeh Shen's pet wisely hid itself. The stepmother, however, was a crafty woman, and she soon thought of a plan. She walked home and called out, Yeh Shen, go and collect some firewood. But wait, the neighbors might see you. Leave your filthy coat here. The minute the girl, hold on, I don't know why this is here. Go away. Go, go. Anyways, where was I? The neighbors might see you. Leave your filthy coat here. The minute the girl was out of sight, her stepmother slipped on the coat herself and went down again to the pond. This time, the big fish saw Yeh Shen's familiar jacket and heaved itself, threw itself up onto the bank, expecting to be fed. But the stepmother, having hidden a dagger in her sleeve, stabbed the fish, wrapped it in her garments, and took it home to cook it for dinner. Isn't she nice?
Not.
Jacob. When Yeh Shen came to the pond that evening, she found her pet had disappeared. Overcome with grief, the girl collapsed on the ground, so she fell to the ground and dropped her. This is kind of the opposite of soft, so these were very rough clothes. And his hair flowed down over his shoulders. Kind uncle, who may you be? Yeh Shen asked. Little point here. It's not her real uncle. It's a term of respect. It's like saying kind sir. That is not important, my child. All you must know is that I have been sent to tell you of the wondrous powers of your fish. My fish, but sir, The girl's eyes filled with tears, and she could not go on. The old man sighed and said, "Yes, my child, your fish is no longer alive. And I must tell you that your stepmother is once more the cause of your sorrow." Yeh Shen gasped in horror, but the old man went on. "Let us not dwell on the things that are past," he said, "for I have come bringing you a gift." Slide over here somewhere. Here it is. Now, you must listen carefully to this. The bones of your fish are filled with powerful spirit. Whenever you are in serious need, you must kneel before them and let them know your heart's desire. But do not waste their gifts. Yeh Shen wanted to ask the old sage many more questions. Let me pause. Old sage, wise old man. Okay, a sage is somebody that has a great deal of wisdom. But he rose to the sky before she could utter another word. With heavy heart, Yeh Shen made her way to the dung heap to gather the remains of her friend. Dung heap is like a trash heap. Time went by, and Yeh Shen, who was often left alone, took comfort in speaking to the bones of her fish. When she was hungry, which happened quite often, Yeh Shen asked the bones for food. In this way, Yeh Shen managed to live from day to day, but she lived in dread that her stepmother would discover her secret and take even that away from her. So the time passed, and spring came. Festival time was approaching. It was the busiest time of the year. Such cooking and cleaning and sewing there was to be done. Go, go. There. Yeh Shen had hardly a moment's rest. At the spring festival, young men and young women from the village hoped to meet and to choose whom they would marry. How Yeh Shen longed to go, but her stepmother had other plans. She hoped to find a husband for her own daughter and did not want any man